In this video I'm going to talk about how I went about trying to make an audio splitter device to get around the problem that has been created by the fact that Mac came out with a new line of computers, Retina display series, with only one audio plug. The previous model that I had a MacBook Pro prior to the Retina one, had two audio sockets, one for the microphone and one for stereo audio. However, this is not compatible with the iOS devices which use this type of connector, which has a 3.5mm jack plug with tip ring sleeve arrangement, four connectors. And so to make the Mac's laptops consistent with their iOS devices, they decided to put this type of plug on the newer Mac computers with a single plug. This has created quite a problem for people who work in the audio industry, DJs and people like that, people who are recording music, because they previously would be able to plug a microphone directly into the microphone socket. Now they don't have a microphone socket, they have one socket, and they've got to split out somehow these two circuits, the audio output and the microphone input. So I set about making my own splitter so that I'd understand what was going on. I'd read various different theories online, one of which pointed out that there are two different types of microphones you have to be aware of. Microphones that have power supplies built into them tend to make a line signal which is about 1 volt, and most small devices like these headphones with built-in microphone, these tiny little microphones in these things are condenser microphones, which are actually quite good microphones. They pick up sound from a great distance, but they're not really good for professional production because of that fact that they pick up everything in the background. You want to have a cardioid type microphone which only picks up a signal when the microphone is close to your mouth. So those types of microphones produce a line signal, and these ones do not. They produce a much lower voltage. And so they're not really compatible, and it appears that the Mac is designed for condenser microphones with low voltage, and if you feed a high voltage into it you may have a problem. In fact, with the splitter box that I'm going to describe, I just connected the output from the Mac directly into the microphone input, and it cut off immediately because the voltage was too high. So that's one thing we have to get around. What I'm wanting to do in this presentation actually is not just make a splitter, but make a box that allows me to record the audio signal that's coming from the computer, feed it back into the microphone so that the computer can record a movie that's playing on the same computer, if you follow me there. So the reason I wanted to do this is that I wanted to record something that was on television or on a website with a video, and want to do a screen capture recording of it. And you can capture the video, but you can't capture the audio unless you get around this problem of wanting to feed the audio signal back into the computer. So this circuit does that, and it would also provide a way of plugging a condenser microphone separately into the splitter box. If you take these cables apart, you'll find that they're actually color-coded. But if you plug this into the Mac actually recognizes the microphone and switches to an external mic. That means it should be possible to connect an external mic that works separately with a splitter of some kind. So I decided to make myself a splitter using an Altoid tin. Quite convenient. It's got a Mac input on one side. Hey, it's all back to front. Mac input on this side, mic input on that side, and audio out here. So let's see, if I have the tin, they're all just connected together. There's nothing fancy inside at this stage. And so here we have the 4 connector audio pin. Actually, I made that from this small adapter I have, just a 3-inch extension, 4 connector extension. I just cut one of these in half and used the plug. And so that gave me the 4 connector plug I needed. And inside it's got 4 wires which are color-coded with blue, red, yellow and green. Yellow is actually a copper-colored wire. And so I just connected those onto the very thin wires that are inside there, and brought them inside the box. And then I have an audio out which uses the two audio pins in the ground also. I've got a copper bar across there with all the grounds connected to it to make it a bit more convenient to put together. But this is a stereo female jack for the stereo headphones, and this is a mono input for a microphone. And I've just connected them up to the appropriate pins. The problem is that when I connect this into the Mac now, it doesn't recognize it as a microphone, so I'm going to have to modify it. So that's all for now until I get some modifications done. Okay, here's part 2. I found that there's this little trick you can do to connect stereo to a mono microphone input without disturbing the actual original stereo signal. What you do is you take the two audio lines, and each one of them goes through a 10,000 ohm resistor, which I've got sort of breadboarded here, and they're connected to the microphone input on the cable that goes back to the computer. So that means that we take the audio signal and feed it into the microphone, but we reduce the voltage by going through this 10,000 ohm resistor. And by going through two 10,000 ohm resistors, it keeps the two stereo lines isolated from each other, and so they remain in stereo, and yet the output when they're mixed together is mono. So that way you'll get a true mono signal with both channels mixed together. Otherwise you'd only get one channel or the other going into the mono microphone input. I've left it in this messed up sort of breadboard fashion so you can actually see how this is done rather than making it all nice and tidy. These big globs of solder we've got here are the two audio lines coming in and going through these 10,000 ohm resistors, which are brown, black, red lines on them, giving you the color code for 10,000 ohms. And the other thing I'd like to tell you about is that I've looked up the color coding for the Apple plugs, so we know what each one of these lines is, and that actually helped a lot. But without putting these resistors in, it didn't work. I'm now going to put a switch in here so that we can switch off the microphone in any external microphone that's plugged in through the main 4-pin audio cable coming in. I want to isolate the microphone that's in the headphone set. The reason for that is I want to be able to record audio from the audio lines that are coming from the computer so that I can record movies that are otherwise blocked. The reason for that is that my wife and son have both been interviewed on television recently, and I wanted to record them and couldn't because I couldn't connect the audio. So this system will actually feed the audio that's coming from the computer back into the microphone that's going back to the computer and allow you to record the audio channel on a video clip that you're doing from your screen. So you can do a recording from your screen using QuickTime for a screen recording, and this way get the audio as well.
Well, here's part 3 of the audio splitter circuit that I was describing, but actually this is, as you remember, a little more than an audio splitter. It also allows you to feed back the signal back into the computer to make recordings from the audio lines that are coming out of the computer.
Okay, I've drawn you a circuit diagram, a rough sketch actually. Excuse my technology here, but we've got these drawn as plugs rather than sockets. This one's actually a plug that goes into the computer. This one's really a socket that is for the straight through connector, and this is a socket where you can plug in audio headphones, stereo headphones, and this one's a socket where you can plug in a mono microphone. I've drawn it this way as plugs because you can see more easily which ones are the tip, ring, and sleeve. So this is a standard tip, ring, sleeve arrangement for the plug that goes into the computer. The tip of the plug is left audio, the first ring is right audio, the third ring is ground, and the microphone connects to the sleeve, which is closest to the cable. And this goes straight through to a socket which has exactly the same arrangement, so you can plug in your Apple compatible headphones, Bose headphones, or even earbuds with microphone built in. That plugs in here and just goes straight through onto the computer. microphone signal, however, comes through here and goes through a switch, so that once you've got this thing plugged in and connected and the Mac recognizes it as an external device, you can then switch the microphone line off and instead go to your socket to put in an external condenser microphone, or otherwise you can use the signal that's coming out from the audio lines. The left and right signals come in here and up through these two resistors, 10,000 ohms each, one for left channel, one for right channel audio. They connect together to make mono, and that's fed in back through the microphone. This is an optional plug for plugging in a pair of headphones. Stereo TRS socket. It just has a tip, a single ring and a sleeve, and they're just connected straight through to the green, red and yellow lines, which are left, right and ground lines of the audio signal. The reason it's optional is because once this thing's set up, you can actually unplug the Apple headphones and plug in any other stereo headphones you like into that socket, so you don't really have to have a separate socket for it. Just made a little alteration here. In addition, alternative option would be to put a 10,000 ohm resistor in here, so this becomes an external microphone input for a line signal powered microphone, typically a type that has a power supply in it. So that way you could put in a line signal microphone here, and if you want to use a condenser microphone, plug it in here. You might also want to consider putting a switch in here to switch off the signal that's coming from the computer into the microphone, or even use a four-way switch. So various options you can make after this prototype.
So we've got the Mac connector that goes straight through, and this is the other end of the Mac connector that goes into the Mac, so it goes straight through out this side. And then if you want to plug in an external microphone, it goes here, and a monitor pair of headphones goes there, and this is the switch for turning off the internal microphone. So that's pretty much the finished prototype, but it tells you how things work. By the way, I forgot to mention that with using the two resistors and mixing two stereo channels together into mono, you avoid a rather peculiar situation where if you don't have the resistors and you just connect the two wires together, you get the reverse of a cappella. So you'll have a band with a singer and the music in the background on the stereo, but if you mix them, the singer's voice disappears and you're just left with the music in the background. So there's a reason for that, but I won't go into that. But you avoid that problem by using these resistors. So that's it. Good luck, and hope this solves the problem for you.